For the Filipinos, you're relative to the 2 years or longer, and then you have to go back to those headquarters. Upper Sierra.
Thank you. Please be seated. Again, good afternoon to everyone. On behalf of the UP Asian Center and the Foreign Service Institute of the Department of Foreign Affairs, welcome to the first installment of the Ambassador Lecture Series on the Pacific with the topic Timor-Leste's Path to ASEAN Membership, Opportunities and Challenges. This event forms part of the 70th anniversary celebration of the UP Asian Center this November 2025. I am Bless Merhudio from the Tri-College PhD Philippine Studies program, and I will be your moderator for today. Allow me to acknowledge the dignitaries and special guests joining us. Dr. Ariel C. Lopez, Assistant to the Dean for Research, Publications, and Information, UP Asian Center. Dr. Jofe B. Santarita, Professor and the College Secretary of UP Asian Center. And Dr. Jocelyn O. Celero, Assistant to the Dean for External and Cultural Affairs, UP Asian Center. To our guests from the diplomatic community, members of the academe, students, and colleagues, thank you for being here. To formally begin our program, we would like to acknowledge Dr. Noel Christian A. Moratilla, Dean of the UP Asian Center, who is currently on special detail today. Although he wishes to be with us this afternoon, he has conveyed his full support for this event. Delivering the opening remarks on his behalf, may we invite the Assistant to the Dean for Research, Publications, and Information, Dr. Ariel C. Lopez.
Maraming salamat, Bless, to His Excellency Octavio Garcia da Silva, Ambassador of the Director General Francisco Nobel Fernandez III, President Angelo Jimenez of the University of the Philippines, other distinguished guests, colleagues, and I would like to welcome you all on behalf of Dean Noel Moratilla to the Asian Center of the University of the Philippines. We are honored to have Ambassador Garcia da Silva to deliver this first lecture in this Ambassador Lecture Series of the Center. As ASEAN brothers and as close cultural siblings, the Philippines and Timor-Leste share not only the Catholic Iberian heritage, but also, and most importantly, the shared vision of an interconnected, peaceful, and prosperous Southeast Asian region. Personally, as a historian who have worked on the Eastern Malay Indonesian archipelago, I would say that the interactions between the Filipinos and the Timorese in general is not new. So when the Spaniards left the Moluccas, so go back to history, when the Spaniards left Maluku, the Moluccas, permanently in 1663, they brought with them back to Luzon a burgeoning community of recently converted Christians, Mardikers or Mardicas from all over the archipelago. However, not everyone joined the Spanish contingent back to the Philippines. Many of the so-called Papangers remained in what is now Eastern Indonesia. These Papangers were soldiers or mercenaries originally from the Philippine province of Pampanga, employed by the Spanish and later by the Dutch. In a Dutch archival record in 1832 that I have personally read and seen, these Papangers remained distinct and were still under the employ of as soldiers in Timor and the surrounding region. In fact, in Jakarta today, there's still a district called Pangos. So descendants of those early Kapampangan soldiers, mercenaries. Today, fortunately, there are many more pathways and possibilities for people-to-people exchanges between Timor-Leste and the Philippines. The Asian Center of UP, with its law-mandated objective to, I quote, to develop a closer and broader contact with our Asian neighbors in the field of learning and scholarship, is ready to spearhead the initiatives in developing these people-to-people interactions. Last year, I think that was June, the Asian Center hosted 12 Timorese youth leaders who were part of an educational tour to learn about best practices in Philippine government agencies, including in UP. Our MA in Asian Studies here at the Center, Major in Southeast Asia program, orients the students to topics that relate to Timor-Leste's politics, economy, and culture in relation to broader Southeast Asian region from a Filipino point of view. And I think some of the students of that program, Asian Studies, Southeast Asian major, are here. In addition, the Asian Center intends to increase our book collection on Timor-Leste, not only with books written by outsiders, but also more specifically, those written by the Timorese, East Timorese authors and scholars themselves. So that's something that we intend to pursue and develop in the future. Finally, I would like to thank Dr. Jofe Santarita, Professor and College Secretary of the Center, who headed this activity, and all the staff who worked for this event to happen. So, muito obrigado in Portuguese, obrigado barak in tetum, maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Dr. Lopez. To share a message on behalf of our partner institution, Foreign Service Institute of the Department of Foreign Affairs, may we now call Attorney Francisco Noel R. Fernandez III, Director General of the FSI.
My good friend, Ambassador Marciano Octavio Garcia da Silva. Another good friend I understand is on his way, UP President Gigil Jimenez. Dr. Lopez, on behalf of Dean Maytokayo, Noel Moratilla, faculties and students of UP, friends. A few months ago, I visited the UP Asian Center to propose a regular collaboration between it and the Foreign Service Institute. Dean Moratilla was quick to convey his affirmative reply, and we have since then embarked on joint academic discussions, sharing our respective resources for the purpose of bridging practitioners of diplomacy with thinkers of regional issues. It is therefore a pleasure for us in the Foreign Service Institute to join the UP Asian Center this afternoon for its inaugural Ambassador Lecture Series. I will be remiss if I do not acknowledge the important role of President Gigil, who sits as a member of the FSI board, in linking FSI also with the UP Center for Integrative and Development Studies. Our partnership with UPCIDS has allowed us to co-organize quarterly roundtable discussions during the past 2 years on topics of mutual interest, including conversations on maritime issues and middle power diplomacy. The value of events like this cannot be lost to us. The global landscape is an ever-changing arena. Whether we like it or not, each day we are greeted by new stories, new developments, and new information. In the midst of such dynamic times, we owe it to ourselves and to each other to make sure that we remain grounded and continue to engage in constant communication, imparting upon one another the kind of practices, knowledge, and ideas that can only be gleaned from unique and first-hand experience. To work with each other, we must know one another. But to truly know one another, we must first meet and converse. There can be no shortcuts if the goal is genuine understanding and partnership. The world is a big place, and we each carry the obligation to reach out and ensure that this distance does not lead to indifference. Let us recognize that it is only through such proactive and collaborative processes that we may hope to pursue the international development and regional unity that we support. This may be particularly true in the case of Timor-Leste. As the newest member of ASEAN, maybe 3-week old, Timor-Leste grants us an opportunity to share in and take note of a new perspective of our region, one informed by their distinctive culture, history, and worldview. With the Philippines assuming the ASEAN chairmanship in 2026, it becomes even more important that we are attuned to the possibilities and responsibilities that come with having a new voice at the table. Last month, I led a team to Dili, which delivered training programs on biodiversity and combating human trafficking to government officials and their local NGO partners through the support of JICA Dili. The programs were meant to strengthen Timor-Leste's accession to ASEAN framework instruments on biodiversity and combating human trafficking. FSI tapped the expertise of two of our colleagues from the ASEAN Biodiversity Center to handle the module on biodiversity, both of whom are, of course, products of UP, including another alumnus of Malcolm Hall on the street. Next year, FSI has been invited to deliver 3 more training modules in Dili. I suggested to Dili that these training modules include a session on migration, a field where the Philippines sets the gold standard. In FSI, we continue to sustain our various learning platforms where specialists, experts, and practitioners could engage in conversations on national, regional, and global issues that have political, economic, and sociocultural impact on the Philippines. When I was in Dili, it was very interesting for me to know that in the struggle for independence of Timor-Leste, a Filipino played a very important role, and he was awarded the highest award that could be given by the country to a civilian. In FSI, our platforms include, among others, our own Ambassadors Lecture Series, which is now on its 19th iteration since we launched it in December of 2023. The Partners Lecture Series for heads of government agencies and other organizations to share knowledge, priorities, and advocacies with the DFA, which is on its 14th iteration. And the Mabini Dialogue, where visiting senior foreign government officials share their respective government's priorities, the latest of whom is the Foreign Minister of Palestine, who spoke last Monday. In all of these learning platforms, we invite members of the diplomatic corps, academics, and students from higher education institutions teaching international studies, and officials from national government agencies which deploy personnel to Philippine Foreign Service posts. To allow our colleagues from our 98 Foreign Service posts to access the discussions in these fora, we carried the conversation live on our Facebook page. The idea is to stimulate as many minds as possible and encourage conversation on regional and international issues. This illustrates our enduring commitment to promoting discourse and conversation. As we gather here today for the UP Asian Center's Maiden Ambassador Lecture Series, may we never lose sight of the value of dialogues such as this. There is much we can learn from others, and it is our duty to make full use of such opportunities to foster better relations and deepen both individual and collective understanding. We do not exist in a vacuum, and so we cannot and must not act as if we do. May today's lecture be lively and collaborative, and may it set the tone for what promises to be many even more vibrant iterations in the future. Again, FSI is honored to support UP Asian Center and of course to support a good friend who will be delivering the inaugural lecture. I wish you luck in the Q&A. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DG Fernandez, for your message and for the continued collaboration with the UP Asian Center. Maraming salamat po. To formally introduce our distinguished guest speaker, we call on Dr. Joffe B. Santarita, Professor and College Secretary of the UP Asian Center.
Thank you very much. Magandang hapon, buwa tarde. This afternoon, we stand in the presence of man whose name has become synonymous with resolve, diplomacy, and the relentless pursuit of understanding in a world that often forgets the value of dialogue, as discussed by DG Fernandez. A figure shaped by history, yet unbound by it, a negotiator who steps into complexity the way others step into sunlight, calmly, decisively, and with an unwavering purpose. Ambassador Marciano Octavio Garcia da Silva, born on 21 March, should I mention the year, in Delhi, Timor-Leste, is the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste to the Philippines, bringing with him a distinguished diplomatic career that spans roles as Director General for Regional Integration and Pacific Affairs, Permanent Representative to the United Nations Office in Geneva, and Ambassador to Switzerland and Monaco. A graduate of Udayana University with training in diplomacy across Delhi, Oslo, and Washington, D.C., he has been a committed advocate of Timor-Leste international engagement since independence, a founding member of the National Resistance of Timor-Leste Students, and today continues to advance bilateral cooperation, regional partnerships, and support for Timorese citizens abroad. And mind you, Ambassador da Silva is fluent to 5 or more languages. So I don't need to elaborate on that, but we know how fluent he is to that. Ambassador da Silva is not merely a representative of his nation. He is its voice, its conscience, and at times its compass. From boardrooms where whispers decide futures to international halls where nations collide in ideas and belief, he has carved a reputation for clarity, courage, and uncommon wisdom. With every handshake, he carries the weight of legacy. With every word, he sets the course for tomorrow. And with every mission he undertakes, he reminds us that diplomacy is not an art of convenience, but of conviction. Please join me in welcoming a steward of peace, a strategist of vision, and a statement of remarkable poise, Ambassador Marciano Octavio Garcia da Silva. A round of applause, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Allow me, first of all, to join Attorney Francisco, Director General of FSI, in acknowledging Dean Lopez and other important persons of the UP University. And again, thank you for taking your time to come to this event, to listen to little tiny Timorese giving you the lecture. This speech, it's not speech presentations, is written so that to make sure that Timor is just three weeks, is still a baby, is not mumbling, saying the wrong things. So, Dean, faculty members, distinguished scholars of the UP ASEAN Center, esteemed colleagues from government and diplomatic corps, and most especially our students, the future stewards of Philippine and regional affairs. Again, boa tarde, good afternoon, and warm greetings from the government and the people of Timor-Leste. It is a privilege to speak before you today at a moment of profound historical significance for my country. Just 1 month ago, on 26 October 2025, during the 47th ASEAN Summit in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Timor-Leste formally became the 11th member of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. This milestone, achieved more than 2 decades after the restoration of our independence and 14 years after our 14 years after our restoration of independence and 14 years after our formal application of membership, marks the close of one long and arduous chapter and the beginning of a brighter, more ambitious one. Today, I hope to share with you not only the story of how we arrived at this moment, but also the opportunity that ASEAN membership brings to our people and to the challenges that lie ahead for the youngest democracy and newest member of Southeast Asia's regional family. Timor-Leste's path to ASEAN has been shaped as much by diplomacy as by the every essence of our nationhood, our modern history, from Portuguese contact in 1515 through decades of Indonesian occupation from 1975 to 1999, to the United Nations administered transition that culminated in the restoration of independence in 2002, has forced our people a deep commitment to peace, self-determination, and international cooperation. These difficult but formative experiences have instilled in Timor-Leste the conviction that lasting stability is built through partnerships, shared norms, and regional solidarity. It was therefore natural that upon regaining independence, Timor-Leste sought to anchor itself in the region to which it belongs geographically, historically, and culturally. We began strengthening ties with ASEAN almost immediately, joining ASEAN Regional Forum in 2005, acceding to the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in 2007, and submitting our formal application for membership in 2011 during Indonesia's chairmanship of ASEAN. This application launched a challenging 14-year process that demanded the strengthening of our diplomatic presence, the modernization of our domestic institutions, the alignment of our national framework with ASEAN's extensive political, security, economic, and social cultural standards. Our political leaders, led by President José Ramos Horta and Prime Minister Xanana Guzmán, have often described this long journey as a triumph of multilateralism, patience, and the spirit of regional unity. Today, we can finally say that their vision has come to fruition. This is actually a quote. So that today, I start with this is a quote from the Prime Minister and President. Quote, today we finally say that the vision has come to fruition. I repeat because this is an important phrase for my leaders in Timor. Between 2020 and 2025, Timor-Leste undertook one of the most comprehensive internal reform processes in its modern history, an undertaking driven by political will, institutional partnership, and the determination of our people. First, we strengthened our legal and institutional foundations. More than 30 national laws were revised to comply with ASEAN agreement and frameworks. We created inter-ministerial working group on ASEAN accession to coordinate national efforts across all sectors. Significant improvements were made in public administration, regulatory processes, and state capabilities to align with ASEAN's administrative expectations. Second, we prepare for economic integration. Timor-Leste completed negotiations to accede to key ASEAN economic instruments, including the ASEAN Trade in Goods Agreement, the ASEAN Framework Agreement on Services, and the movement of natural persons, as well as the ASEAN Comprehensive Investment Agreement. These commitments represent our readiness not only to participate in regional economic governance, but also to benefit from ASEAN's rapidly evolving economic landscape. Third, in 2022 and 2023, ASEAN member states granted Timor-Leste in principle membership and observer status following successful fact-finding missions conducted in 2019 and 2021 and 2022. This milestone allowed Timor-Leste to participate in all ASEAN meetings, including summit plenary sessions, giving us the opportunity to deepen understanding of ASEAN processes from within. Finally, at 46th ASEAN Summit in May 2025, ASEAN leaders agreed that Timor-Leste's accession would be formalized at the 47th Summit. Thus, on 26 October 2025, we officially joined ASEAN as a full member state, a moment President José Ramos Horta called, I quote, the fulfillment of our nation's aspirations to stand among equals in our region, end of quote. Timor-Leste's decision to join ASEAN was rooted in a strategic, economic, political, and cultural imperatives. And as you may ask, why ASEAN? And that's exactly, I say, Timor-Leste's decision to join ASEAN was rooted in a strategic, economic, political, and cultural imperatives. First, ASEAN is our regional home. Our geography, history, and economic relations have long placed us within the Southeast Asian sphere. Membership simply formalizes a reality that has existed for centuries. Second, ASEAN brings unparalleled economic opportunities. With a combined GDP of 3.8 trillion US dollars and a population of 680 million, ASEAN offers markets and partnerships for larger than Timor-Leste could access alone. Integration into this dynamic economic community opens pathways to investment, trade diversification, and job creation for our young population. Third, ASEAN strengthens our political and security environment. Through its norms and mechanisms, ASEAN enhances confidence building, maritime security, and regional diplomacy, crucial concerns for a young state situated along major sea lanes and a strategic geopolitical spaces. Fourth, ASEAN deepens connectivity and people-to-people ties. Existing visa waivers and mobility arrangements have already begun generating growth in tourism, cultural exchange, and labor mobility between Timor-Leste and its neighbors. You may ask, what does Timor-Leste brings to ASEAN? This is a question. And ASEAN's strength has always rested on diversity and shared purpose. As its newest member, Timor-Leste contributes unique assets that enrich the region. We bring the experience of peace building. Timor-Leste is a success story of post-conflict reconstructions transformed into democratic governance. Our history of resistance, reconciliation, and nation building adds a valuable perspective to ASEAN's political and security discourse. We bring democratic resilience. As the first new sovereign state of the 21st century and one of the region's most vibrant young democracies, Timor-Leste adds a distinct political identity grounded in participation and pluralism. We bring youth dynamism. With 70% of our population under 35, we offer ASEAN a reservoir of innovation, energy, and creativity that will shape the region's future labor, force and knowledge economy. We bring cultural richness. Our ties is a woven traditional, it's like in Mindanao. It's a handmade fabric. Our ties weaving tradition, recognized by UNESCO, contributes to ASEAN's shared cultural heritage and strengthen regional identity. Finally, we bring maritime leadership. With 87% of our territory composed of ocean and located at the heart of the Coral Triangle, Timor-Leste has much to contribute to ASEAN's priorities in maritime conservation, sustainable fishery, and blue economy innovation, areas central to ASEAN's vision 2030 and 2045. Opportunities for Timor-Leste in ASEAN. As we look forward, the coming decade promises transformative opportunities for Timor-Leste. Economic integration will allow us to tap into regional value chains, attract more foreign investments under ACIA, and accelerate diversification beyond petroleum. Agriculture, especially our global renowned coffee. Timorese coffee is the best in the world, you know. So the late Pope Francisco, he said he only drank Timorese coffee, but Philippines coffee is also good. Coffee will benefit from improved market access and will as well ecotourism, renewable energy, fisheries, and mineral development. Education and youth exchange will expand as Timor-Leste participates more fully in ASEAN's scholarship network, research collaborations, and youth programs. We look forward to welcoming more Timorese students to Philippine universities, especially given the strong educational ties already established. I know the president of the UP is joining us later, so I'll ask him to accept our Timorese students in these very important institutions, UP. If you take like 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4 in 10 years or 20 years, we will be able to cope with some problems in Timor, and eventually we can effectively contribute to ASEAN. Infrastructure and connectivity development are also key. ASEAN's framework provides opportunities for building better roads, ports, digital systems, aviation links, and maritime corridors essential to trade and mobility. And dear students, for your information, we are currently working on the MAU to be signed between the Philippines and Timor-Leste. Once we have that MAU signed, meaning we would be able to fly direct from the Philippines to Timor-Leste and then cross to Australia at the other side, at the north side. So we hope, let's cross our finger, next year we'll be able to sign the MAU. Finally, ASEAN membership strengthens our climate resilience. Timor-Leste remains committed to reducing emissions by 33% by 2030 and protecting 70% of its coastal and marine ecosystems, goals that align with ASEAN's broader sustainability agenda. Challenges for Timor-Leste on the ASEAN path. Again, this is the theme of this conversation. Yet, while the opportunities are significant, the challenges ahead are equally substantial. Economic competitiveness remains an ongoing concern. As the region is the smallest economy, we must work harder to ensure that our enterprises, workforce, and institutions can effectively participate in ASEAN markets. Institutional capacity is another challenge. Full participation in ASEAN requires technical experts across 1,500 sectoral bodies. We are accelerating training for diplomats, regulators, and specialists to meet this demand. So we trust that the Philippines could help us in human development, so we can cope, so we can run together with ASEAN colleagues in ASEAN, in our region. We must also diversify beyond petroleum. While our petroleum fund remains strong at 18.74 billion US dollars, nearly 10 times of our GDP, long-term sustainability requires building non-oil sector capable of sustaining growth. Infrastructure gaps persist, especially in rural municipalities where connectivity, logistics, and service delivery remain uneven. Finally, human capital development is essential. Our young population is our greatest advantage, but harnessing their potential requires sustained investment in education, skills development, and digital literacy. Apologize for pronunciation. And then I visited some of the universities across the Philippines to help up in this area. Our journey to ASEAN would not have been possible without the steadfast support of the Philippines. Your civil society organizations monitored our first elections in 2002, Filipino peace builders and development workers help strengthen our institutions. Philippine diplomatic missions consistently supported our accession in regional meetings. These are bonds woven not only through state to state diplomacy, but through shared struggles and human solidarity. As Timor Leste enters ASEAN, our bilateral partnership stands poised to deepen. We see vast potential for collaboration in higher education, maritime security, coast guard training, democratic governance, public administration, tourism, agriculture, and cultural exchange. I'm especially grateful to the University of the Philippines for consistently serving as a bridge between our peoples through academic cooperation, cultural engagement, and the nurturing of future leaders. Timor-Leste joined ASEAN at a moment of regional transformation, geopolitical competition, global economic disruptions, climate change, and rapid technological shift all present serious challenges. All of these present serious challenges. Yet ASEAN's strength has always been its ability to adapt, to bridge divides, and to uphold unity and centrality amid uncertainty. As the first 21st century member of ASEAN, Timor-Leste offers new perspectives and fresh energy to this ongoing project of regional community building. For us, the future rests on three aspirations: a more connected Timor-Leste that is firmly integrated into regional markets and digital systems, a more sustainable Timor-Leste that leads in blue economy development, renewable energy, and biodiversity protection, and a more resilient Timor-Leste grounded in democratic values, empowered youth, and a proud cultural identity. In closing messages, allow me to end with the words of President Jose Ramos Horta during our accession ceremony. Quote, ASEAN membership belongs not to any individual, but to every Timorese who sacrificed for our independence, who rebuilt our nation from ashes, and who never ceased believing in our rightful place in this region. End of quote. These words remind us that our membership in ASEAN is not merely a diplomatic achievement. It is the realization of the hopes of an entire generation. For Timor-Leste, joining ASEAN is not the end of a journey. It is the beginning of a shared future, a future where a small nation contributes meaningfully to a large region, where our young people engage and collaborate with yours, and where we build together a Southeast Asia that is peaceful, prosperous, and united in purpose. To the students gathered here this afternoon, this afternoon, you are the future of ASEAN. And Timor-Leste, a baby of 3 weeks, looks forward to building the future with you. With you. So, Portuguese, muito obrigado. Obrigado para quinteto, and maraming salamat po. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for that insightful lecture. Your discussion has deepened our understanding of Timor-Leste's long and determined journey toward ASEAN membership. And I know everyone is excited to hear more from our ambassador. So we will now open the floor for the open forum. If you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand. or stand, and our ushers will assist you with a microphone. All right, I think we have a question there. Yes.
Beloved, good afternoon to everyone here, and especially His Excellency Ambassador of East Timor.
Yes.
Um,
Ma'am,
I-
can you identify your affiliation?
I'm my name is Garcenia Octaviano da Costa, and I'm a student from Far Eastern University. And I would like to ask a question, especially for Ambassador of East Timor. What priority area is Timor-Leste currently undertaking in its capacity as ASEAN's newest member? And through what strategies does the country intend to address the 5 challenges previously outlined earlier in the PowerPoint? So that's all for my questions. Thank you so much, and obrigado, Barak.
Thank you for the question. As I mentioned in the presentation, the emphasis is on development, human capacities. And without this, development and education is at two sides of the same coin. Without doing one, and the others the other one will fail. So currently, as you know, that Timor-Leste has established the fund specifically designed for developing the human capacities. We call it the Human Capital Fund, Human Development Capital Fund. There are money there in that fund. So Timorese students who wish to further their study to the Philippines or elsewhere in the world, they could get that fund to study. So the government is now placing the priority of development while developing basic infrastructures like schools, health, roads, bridges. But the government is giving emphasis the need for the government to pay attention on developing the capital, human capital, or developing the human capital, so that these young generations could effectively contribute to the national development. And if you look at the Timor-Leste's national strategic plan, this is the plan that the Timor-Leste is now developing the human capital. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. It's good to hear about that you are investing more in your people. Do we have another question? All right.
Good afternoon,
Please
Ambassador.
introduce yourself
My name
first.
My name is Alia Pileo. I'm teaching here in Asian Center. And I'm very thankful for Ambassador to come and share with us his views on the plans for Timor-Leste and ASEAN as well, in cooperation with Philippines. But you mentioned that there is a lot Philippines can help Timor-Leste. But I would like to turn it around and say that I think Philippines can learn a lot from Timor-Leste, particularly on coffee industry. And I probably would like to propose, if there is, that there should be some cooperation between Timor-Leste and Philippines on coffee industry, and particularly coffee roadmaps. If Ambassador has any views on that, I would like you to share, but as a little proposal for
Yes,
advance.
I was at
Thank you.
I don't know what is that. I was talking to ambassador of Vietnam, saying that Timor-Leste cannot compete with Vietnam when it comes to quantity. And he said, ambassadors, we in ASEAN, we are not competing. We are completing each other. So if we have quantity, but we have quality. So exactly this ASEAN is about. So yes, we have a coffee plantation, which we don't use the pesticides. We maintain our organic as it is. So Philippines could learn from us, but we can also learn from the Philippines how to make it bigger, how to produce more rather than maintaining the originality of that. But then when it comes to the commercial, we need to sell more than the quality. So thank you for the question. And this is where this is what ASEAN has been doing. That we are not competing, but we are complementing. We are helping each other so that we can go together, navigating towards the same through the same path to the same destination. So thank you for that question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But before we proceed with the other questions, we would like to acknowledge the presence of the President of the University of the Philippines, Attorney Angelo A. Jimenez. We will hear more from him later. Do we have any questions on the House? All right.
Hi.
Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, Carl Chengshua from the Asian Center as well. The kind ambassador has actually mentioned the integration of Timor to the Asian network, ASEAN network itself. But one of the things that we've also seen is the dangers of how little countries are then being consumed by the systems and structures of larger countries itself, particularly labor migration and so on. So are there steps that are being done by the country itself in order to prevent these types of things from happening where your people are being abused by the markets and so on? Thank you.
Thank you for that. Yeah, this is for your information. It is not that we are using other countries are using. We have been using other countries as well. We've been sending like the Philippines. We have been sending workers working abroad to South Korea and maybe soon in the Philippines as well. The Philippines goes to Timor and Philippines go to Timor and we come to the Philippines. It's gonna happen soon. So we are sending to people to work in our in UK, in Ireland, in Australia, in South Korea, and the aim is to be able to be with that situation, so to learn from the spot, so they can bring the skills back to Timor one day. But at the same time, we solve some of the problems in Timor, sending them out, but with the expectation that these people are coming back later, so we can develop the country. So the questions of who is using who, we are using each other as well, but in the positive sense, each country have their own way. Even we are inside the ASEAN as a regional organization, but each member of ASEAN, they have their own way of doing things. They defend their own national interests, and they have their own DNA, and that's it. So, but we're doing together, but we at the same time we also do our own way nationally. So that's it. But I believe that with ASEAN, we can help each other to achieve the shared prosperity, shared security, shared identity, one vision, one community. That's what ASEAN is about. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do you have other? Yes, please.
Good afternoon, Ambassador. My name is Concepcion Lagos from the University of Asia in the Pacific, and one of your officials, Helena, was my student actually last semester. So congratulations first for your new membership. So I have two questions. First is, I was wondering if you could give us a little bit of some behind the scenes regarding what was it that East Timor finally achieved to finally gain membership of the ASEAN? Was it an unexpected date that by October of this year you would finally gain the membership, or was there something that you had to accomplish first to be able to gain it? If you are at liberty to disclose it, that's my first question. And my second is, there have been long talks from Sri Lanka of wanting to be part of ASEAN as well. I was wondering what your thoughts are regarding perhaps the support that you might want to give another member to join the ASEAN if there are. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. Well, that's first to say is that our dreams comes true. When we started the idea of forming the state of Timor, the nation of Timor, our leaders back then, already thought that one day we'd become part of ASEAN back in the 75, 74, 75. And we struggled 24 years. And then after that, in 99, Filipinos, everybody helped us to reestablish, restore our independence. 2002, we became independent. And then in 2011, we start kicking off the process of that integration. And it took 14 years to arrive where we are now. But it is, you know, I myself, and I don't want to promote myself, but the first time when we started the process, we just held a small meeting, and then we share a meeting with the Thailand generals. We host ARF meeting in Delhi, and we said to each other, we said to one another, say, if we succeed in this meeting, this small meeting, then one day we'll be able to hold a big meetings, and it's happened. And then it started from there. We kick off the process of the accession in 2011, and started participating in all ASEAN meetings, learning along the way. And we push it through in 2022 when ASEAN in principle acknowledged us, giving us the status of observer, and then on the not even 2 years, we became ASEAN members. And here we are. But it starts from a very small, tiny ideas back in the early years, and now it's now ensuing. It happens that we are a member of ASEAN, and this is the dream. Everything comes from the imaginations. They call it imagining community, and we are in. We are going to contribute immensely. I think, I believe that Timor is part of ASEAN, is not because we want to be there, because it is geographically, naturally, is given by God that you belong to this. And we, the Filipinos, the Timorese, or ASEAN, we are connected in many ways through the colonization. From Portuguese started the exploration, started coming to this region, and they were the last to leave Timor in 75. It's an interesting story. But so I'd like students of the UFP, students of the Philippines, to explore the Portuguese colonizations and Spanish colonization. So we share many words like recibos and many. So we understand Tagalog very quick because we speak the same language. We understand each other quickly. Thank you. Huh? Sri Lanka, no, I can't make that comment. I'm not aware of that. I know the PNG have been observer status long time ago, but this is between, and it also almost happened to Timor West. It's between we in the Pacific, we in ASEAN, but eventually we are here. And Timor is an island divided into two. You cannot say this part is ASEAN and this part is not. But for Sri Lanka, I can't comment on that question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. But before we proceed with more questions, I know everyone is excited to hear more from our ambassador, but we can go back to that later. At this point, we now move to another important part of the program. We have the honor of hearing a message from the President of the University of the Philippines. We are organizing this Ambassador Lecture Series on the Pacific as part of its commitment to support his vision of developing a Pacific Island Studies program in the university, an initiative that strengthens UP's engagement with our Pacific neighbors and highlights the growing importance of regional and interregional studies. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Attorney Angelo A. Jimenez, President of the UP System.
Maayong hapon sa atong tanan. Um, Your Excellency, welcome to the university. I'd like to greet my good friend. We took the bar together in 1994, and he was number one, the head of the Foreign Service Institute, of which I am a trustee, Attorney Noel Fernandez. Number one in the bar exams. Magkadikit kami kumuha ng test, hindi ako nahawaan. I would like to greet, of course, your dean, who is in China today, but he has been instrumental in carrying this out as well. Allow me to greet, of course, your former dean, Jope Santa Rita. It was with Dean Jope that I first campaigned, cajoled, hammered home to have a specific studies program when I was a regent, almost 10 years ago. And you can just imagine my gratification that these things are happening today, especially with the entry of East Timor, now part of the family in ASEAN, of which the Philippines is a founding member. Of course, Dr. Michelle Palumberit, I was just meeting with her, with CIFAL. Michelle is not here. Thank you very much. I have been very active with CIFAL. I was the one who received the UN flag and CIFAL here when it arrived in the Philippines, and I still remain a very active supporter of UP CIFAL as part of the manifestation of our international engagement, particularly with the Sustainable Development Goals. Dr. Jocelyn Silero, thank you, ma'am. Distinguished faculty and students of the UP Asian Center. Also, some students from other schools. I heard someone from the UAP. FEU, yeah. Of course, once again, the ambassador. You know, I really am a fan of Ambassador Da Silva of East Timor, of Timor-Leste. I don't know if you were told earlier that he was a true revolutionary. He learned from the University of Struggle in the hills of East Timor, and he was one of those who risked his life in trying to give birth to a new nation of which we are now. It's now a part of the ASEAN family. He fought side by side with the founder, President Sanana Gusmao. And we were then student radicals when that was starting to unfold. And as a matter of fact, it created a little bit tension with our brother in ASEAN, Indonesia, because we, the Filipinos, then had overwhelming support for the aspirations of the East Timorese for national self-determination. As a matter of fact, during those crises, I remember before 1999, Ramos Horta was here, visited the UP College of Law, and we supported that. It created a little bit of tension. And the reason he went to the College of Law, because we cannot receive him officially, because we are part of ASEAN, and in the ASEAN we have this, the centrality principle of ASEAN is that we have to maintain and engage with our ASEAN brothers. We do not offend them, we don't insult them. So UP received Ramos Horta, who was then already a recipient of the Nobel Prize at the time. So it was here in Malcolm Hall. Para walang problema ba? No? It was a private of the University of the Philippines. And I salute your struggle, sir. You are the revolutionary I have always aspired to be. Once again, it is an honor for the University of the Philippines to partake of your presence and your insights. We gather here today not only to integrate a lecture series, but to mark a moment of renewal for the UP Asian Center, which celebrates its 70th anniversary this year. 70 years of scholarship, diplomacy, and deep engagement with our region. And today, that legacy takes an important step southward towards the vast and vital blue Pacific continent. We imagine the Pacific as part and extension of our land. And the land doesn't necessarily mean solid, it can be liquid. We are Nusantao. Your Excellency, please allow me to congratulate you and the people of East Timor, of Timor-Leste, I'm sorry, on your historic accession last month as the 11th member of ASEAN. This is a personal dream come true. I entertained this when I was a student radical. So I never expected I will be doing this. Never imagined I will be doing this in the future, which is today. Your lecture, Timor-Leste's Path to ASEAN Membership, Opportunities and Challenges, reminds us that extraordinary resilience and conviction with which your nation pursued your aspiration. For more than 2 decades, Timor-Leste rebuilt itself, democratic institution by democratic institution, until it could stand before Southeast Asia, not as a newcomer, but as a brother and peer. Sister too, okay? I don't want to get into trouble. The Philippines is proud to have stood with you throughout this journey, diplomatically, politically, historically, even economically. There were a lot of Filipino contractors who went to East Timor. I met some of them. We are bound by shared experiences of colonization, struggles for freedom, and our commitment to democracy. With ASEAN membership now achieved, Timor-Leste's voice becomes even more essential to the region's future, especially on issues that directly shape the lives of archipelagic and coastal nations like ours. Allow me then to connect your lecture to a broader vision that UP Asian Center has begun to pursue, the creation of a Pacific Island Studies program in the University of the Philippines. This is not an academic project alone. It is a strategic project for our future as a nation. We have a self-interest in this. The Philippines is geographically Southeast Asian, we know that. Culturally Austronesian as well. Historically shaped by the Iberian world, we're Latinos as well. And spiritually tied to communities across the Pacific, we are Pacificans. That makes us unique. We are, in a very real sense, both an Asian and a Pacific nation. This dual identity gives us a unique voice and a unique responsibility within ASEAN, within the wider Pacific, and within the United Nations. I was born in Butuan City, where we found the Butuan boats. Those boats colonized the Pacific. We are, in fact, and I'd like to say this very carefully, but I'll say this anyway. We are, and we should be, a big brother to our Pacific Island neighbors, our near abroad. The largest democracy in that area, the largest economy, and the most populous island nations of our oceanic family. And yet so often, the Philippines has not acted with confidence or clarity that this position perhaps demands. But we must. Because the Pacific is now the front line of climate change, and the rising seas do not respect boundaries, diplomatic borders, or even historical distinctions. Across the Pacific, sea levels are rising at twice the global percentage or average. We have to note that. It is so essential to our survival as a Pacific nation. In places like Tuvalu, Kiribati, the Marshalls, and Tokelau, homes now flood with tides that did not reach them a generation ago. Coral reefs are bleaching. Cyclones are intensifying, and we know that based on experience. It is in our guts. We just went through several of them. Fresh water is disappearing. That many of us might not know. It is disappearing. Even maritime boundaries, borders, physical borders are threatened as coastlines disappear. The Philippines knows these realities only too well. Typhoon Yolanda, or international name Haiyan, taught us the cost of unpreparedness. The West Philippine Sea warming at unprecedented rates shows us what a maritime crisis looks like in real time. And this is why the Philippines and the Pacific Islands must stand together, not as separate region, but as one ecological and diplomatic community, even a political community, whose future is bound by the same ocean. One of our urgent goals in UP is to mainstream disaster diplomacy, to develop a framework that treats disaster risk reduction, emergency response, and climate adaptation not only as humanitarian concerns, but as avenues for stronger diplomatic relationships. If we can work with Papua New Guinea, Fiji, Samoa, Tonga, and yes, with Timor Leste, to build early warning systems, remote sensing capacity, coastal resilience, and emergency response networks, then we are not merely helping individual countries. We are building, and imagine this, we are building a Pacific community that is capable of surviving the storms of the 21st century. A community that faces a common threat, and a community with a very strong basis for building solidarity with each other. To support this, I have asked the UP Resilience Institute, I have really asked Mahar, under Mahar Lagmay, to begin planning a vision of Cebu City and Davao City as regional hubs for disaster resilience, climate research, and regional diplomacy. Why Cebu and Davao? One of the greatest strategic vulnerability of the Philippines is the over-concentration of our resources and institutions within Metro Manila and the environment. About 40% of our population and almost half of our wealth generation capacity is there. A major disaster, an earthquake or super typhoon, or war, one major missile attack, could cripple our national operations overnight. In fact, it could threaten the Filipino national project. But if Cebu and Davao become strong research centers, diplomatic centers, and climate hubs, we are creating not only redundancy, but resilience. You see, west of the Philippines is crisis area, but east of our country is peace. Today, it is now subject to very intense geopolitical rivalry, but it is peace. Every nation always imagines strategically a strategic hinterland. Some nations don't have it. Nations like Singapore don't have strategic hinterland. That's why their defense posture is to meet the enemy at sea, because the moment the enemy hits land in a small country, the war is over. We have strategic hinterlands. We have a place to withdraw. And that's exactly what happened in World War II when Luzon was overrun. Annie went back to my little island of Mindanao, where I was born. And this is the idea. To make sure that the Philippines can survive any conflict, we have to have a developed strategic hinterland. And in our case, we are just talking about climate hubs, diplomatic centers, and redundancy for resilience. This I began talking to many people, including Din Jope, almost 10 years ago. I didn't expect I'll become president. And I was finally able to do something about it. And you can just imagine how grateful I am for ASEAN Center for taking up the vision. These hubs, strengthened through collaboration with Pacific Island states, can form a regional archipelagic network, a shared scientific and diplomatic systems that links Manila, Cebu, and Davao to capitals like Honiara, Suba, Port Vila, Apia, and of course, Dili. That's why we are called Dili Man. No, Bisaya, Dili Man kami, Dili. So this is where the Pacific Island Studies program comes in. It will be first academic, yes, but also policy-oriented, diplomatic, scientific, and community-based. Rooted in Austronesian studies. Austronesian, we are Austronesians, but we remember that Austronesia is not an ethnic category, right? It is a linguistic category. But then we know that language is a marker of ethnicity. And the reach of the Austronesian universe, one of the largest in the world, goes east as far as Easter Islands or Rapa Nui, and as far west as Madagascar. You know, I was very ignorant. I thought the Madagascar people are Africans. When I was at the Kennedy School, I met my classmates from Madagascar. My God, they look like us. They look like us. And so rooted in Austronesian studies, but forward-looking in climate action and maritime governance. Grounded in culture and history, but engaged with economics, security, and the blue economy. The most important economy of the future will be the blue economy. And we are moving towards that as well in other parts of our programs. And it will be UP's intellectual contribution to a shared Pacific future. Let me continue with the strategic vision. I have asked Mahar, for example, Mahar, can you form a South Pacific Climate Change Council? Because I am actively executing the mandate of the university to become a regional and global university. And I deal with my fellow academics all over the world. No matter how brilliant, no matter how you prepare, our strength will not come from your individual brilliance, not even your charm. It will always depend on the strength of your country. And that is the reality of diplomacy. But look at this. Every country, no matter how small, like let's say Solomon Islands in Niara, would have the same vote in the UN as the USSR or China or the United States. Diplomatically, I want to be able to face our colleagues in the world with some diplomatic heft. And we are in the best position to do that because we are true Pacific Islanders. We are natives. As I said before, we are conquerors, colonizers of vast oceans like no other power in the world has ever conquered. Not the British. Not the British. Britannia did not rule the waves. It was our people riding on balanghais that ruled the waves. Did not only rule the waves, they settled and prospered. So I want this program to help develop a long-term vision for Pacific engagement, to develop strategic goals eventually for this program as well, and envision a partnerships with countries like Timor-Leste, the Pacific Islands Forum, and ASEAN. Opportunities for student exchange. I want to prepare for scholarships for Pacific Island countries to study here in any course, university, because we have to attract their best. And I tell you already, they trust us more than the others in the region. And I will not mention these countries. They even tried to engage me as a lawyer before I came in the UP when I was in my short period of private practice. So blue economy and climate diplomacy, this is our key strategic strength. But at any rate, Your Excellency, Ambassador De Silva, Timor-Leste's entry into ASEAN marks not only the completion of a long journey, but a very exciting start of new beginnings. Our two nations already cooperate in peacekeeping, marine and fisheries management, education, defense, and people-to-people ties. Let me just cite to you. In 1999, to help stabilize the situation in East Timor, and I know you were there, Your Excellency, as a freedom fighter. It was so troublesome, you know, problems with the Kopasis of Indonesia before. And we were discussing those things. And we know that you had a vote and you voted overwhelmingly for independence, but there were a small portion of the country who wanted integration with Indonesia. It was a very troublesome time. Militias ruled the streets. So the United Nations created the United Nations Transitional Authority for East Timor, UNTAET. 10,000 soldiers from 24 countries under the auspices of the UN, together with 200 military advisors. And of the 10,000, the Philippines contributed 800 soldiers. 800 Filipinos helped stabilize the situation and help give birth to the island, to that nation, which is now a member of our ASEAN family today. And I am very proud to remember that. As a matter of fact, the contingent leader at the time was a former UP regent, Lieutenant General, retired of course, De Los Santos. He was a UP alumni, a member of the Board of Regents, and still teaches part-time here in UP. You should meet him, I think, Excellency, General De Los Santos. No, he didn't get his military training from UP. You know, he was just a graduate. He joined the military. We are not PMA. With your membership in ASEAN and the Philippines' upcoming chairmanship, now we just inaugurated it a few days ago, 2026. We now have the chance to deepen our partnership in climate resilience, maritime security, and regional stability. Together, we can champion the voices of vulnerable coastal and island states. Together, we can work for a regional order that protects not only economic prosperity, but the very habitability of our islands. With Timor-Leste as a bridge between Melanesia and Southeast Asia, and the Philippines as a bridge between Asia and the greater Pacific, our partnership becomes essential to the Pacific century that is now unfolding before us. So as the Asian Center begins its 70 years, next 70 years, the question before us is, to my mind, simple. Will the University of the Philippines be content to observe the Pacific from a distance? We are in the Pacific, but are we of the Pacific? Or will we take our rightful place within it, leading, partnering, and standing with our fellow island nations? And let me tell you, I feel so strongly about it. I've been speaking about this topic for over a decade now. And one of the first who really agreed with me was another classmate and batchmate of ours, Ambassador Gary Domingo, who was then ambassador to New Zealand. And he was said, that's right. And as a matter of fact, I asked him to visit you, and he came here to talk about and further the idea. He is now the Consul General in Australia, I think. Melbourne. So the creation of the Pacific Island Studies Program is just a start. It is our signaling device that we will look towards the Pacific. It is our strategic answer. So don't look at it as an ordinary program. We choose engagement, we choose solidarity, we choose a shared ocean, a shared destiny, and a shared responsibility to protect our common home, the waters of the Pacific. Your Excellency, thank you for inspiring us today. To the Asian Center, congratulations on your 70 years of scholarship and service. I think I said this before. I don't think you will find another president who believes in you more than I do. And I don't think, and I hope you felt my support already during the last 2 years. Because I practically never said no to them. Just this week, we have 2 international conferences held here, right? And Ban Ki-moon was here. And he saw the cracks in the bust of our heroes downstairs. Why there's a crack? I said, Excellency, these were taken from the ruins and they were displayed there to give texture and aura. Of course, I was just inventing it. I called the Dean of the College of Fine Arts, Tom Imo, come over and fix this bust. There were cracks here inside. So we have cracked heroes. And to all of us here, may this inaugural lecture be the beginning of deeper, broader, and more meaningful Pacific partnership. It was a discussion here at Asian Center that one of my initiatives as a member of the board was also born. it was the professional course on global migration that is now a regular part of the University of the Philippines. My plan was to have a master's in migration because I want to teach it. It is my area of research. I have done research in Africa, the GCC, countries, the entire of Asia through the Colombo process, and including my own country. So I'm very interested in this. Was born here, in discussions born here. So to all of us here, may this again be some start of something beautiful. But I don't want to say friendship because Humphrey Bogart already said that. Obrigado, Barak. Daghang salamat, maayong hapon sa ating tanan.
Thank you very much, President Jimenez, for your continued support and for always saying yes to our invitations. All right, at this point, may we request the response of His Excellency to the yes from the message of Attorney Jimenez.
Well, before you came, Mr. President, I already informed the audience that I would ask President of UP to accept more Timorese coming to study here in the university. And then you came in and you say the same, and you lay out your program for the Pacific, and I hope that with that program, Timorese young boys and girls could have that access, scholarship or whatever, so they can even they study with their own money. But please open your hands and your heart to embrace us, giving your love for us so we can grow together with you. And I again thank you very much for the insightful inspirations that share with us, and then we hope that we could work together. And as the Philippine chairship, the theme of ASEAN is navigating together towards our destiny, of ASEAN destiny. Thank you very much, Ms. Bennett. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Truly, as you said, dreams do come true. At this point, may we invite His Excellency Marciano Octavio Garcia de Silva to please remain on stage and stand. And may we call on Dr. Lopez, Dr. Silero, Attorney Fernandez, and President Jimenez to join us for the presentation of our certificate and token of appreciation. The certification reads, this certificate of appreciation is awarded to His Excellency Marciano Octavio Garcia de Silva for serving as the speaker during the first installment of the Ambassador Lecture Series, Timor-Leste's Path to ASEAN Membership, Opportunities and Challenges, held on November 21, 2025, 2 p.m. at the UP Asian Center, given this 21st day of November 2025 at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, Quezon City, signed by the Dean, UP Asian Center, Noel Christian A. Moratilla, and the Director General of FSI, Attorney Francisco Noel R. Fernandez III. All right, thank you very much. All right. We also have our token of appreciation for our partner for today's event. We have tokens for the FSI. May we request? We request the team of the department to please, yes, for the photo opportunity here in front. Again, Attorney Fernandez, President Jimenez, and the members of the FSI. We are so glad to have you here this afternoon. Thank you for the collaboration. Thank you so much. May this be the start of a more beautiful collaborations. Sorry for cutting the momentum of our question and answer earlier, but later we will serve snacks and refreshments, and we encourage you to stay and personally engage with our ambassador and continue the conversation. And also maybe we can, take more selfies. At this point, to formally close this afternoon's event, may we invite the Assistant to the Dean for External and Cultural Affairs, Dr. Jocelyn Celero.
On behalf of Dean Noel Christian Moratilia, who's currently in Peking University to represent the Asian Center, I'd like to formally close this program. A very exciting event that we have long been doing at the Asian Center. And in celebration of the 70th anniversary, it's just good to revitalize some of the earlier initiatives that aim to engage with the diplomatic corps. And I believe this is aligned with the mantra of the Asian Center, and that is bridging the Philippines and Asia, bringing Asia to Filipinos. The speech I'm going to read today was written by our indefatigable Dean Moratilia. So, yeah, allow me to read it. The story of Timor-Leste inclusion in the ASEAN is one that should forever serve as a source of inspiration for other countries. A former colony, just like the Philippines, Timor-Leste survived an arduous and violent conflict before being recognized as a country capable of charting its own destiny. As His Excellency pointed out in his talk, dreams do come true. I remember that when Timor-Leste, then still more popularly called, and still is, I think, to this day, East Timor, which is actually East-East, if you translate it, was campaigning for its independence, despite the rabid objections of its neighbor that was still praying under authoritarian rule. Some Filipino academics expressed their support for the campaign and held forums even and other activities for this purpose. The Philippine government, on the contrary, largely kept mum, opting to prioritize its ties with the Suharto government over the legitimate demand of a people to finally be granted the same status as all of other sovereign countries. It didn't take long before the rest of the world paid heed, proving that a people's bold and resilient spirit would gain its reward and that a just cause would win over adversity and uncertainty. Nonetheless, Timor-Leste's inclusion in the ASEAN did not come right away. The path towards ASEAN membership, just like towards national freedom, proved to be an uphill battle. The campaign tested yet again the fortitude of the Timorese. Here we are, however, marking and celebrating something that is long overdue. With the integration of Timor-Leste into the ASEAN, the association is expected to formally involve its newest member in many multilateral discussions and activities ahead toward greater regional cooperation, and yesterday's event, greater connectivity. This development would likewise pave paths for bolstering bilateral partnerships from which Timor-Leste and the Philippines stand to gain. including academic partnerships. Since last year, the Asian Center, for instance, has been in discussions with the Embassy of Timor-Leste and representatives of academic institutions to explore possible areas for cooperation and greater collaboration. We have also had webinars in which Timorese scholars have actively participated as resource speakers. In fact, we had one last July, and that was themed Portugal and Southeast Asia Connections. In some of these online events, Ambassador De Silva himself found the time to take part and share his invaluable insights into his country's colorful history and culture. Given that Timor-Leste and the Philippines share certain historical experiences and cultural traits, it is not difficult to leverage on these commonalities and embark on mutually beneficial activities, such as those that can involve higher education institutions between and in the two countries. Once again, congratulations to Timor-Leste, and thank you very much for helping us revitalize the Ambassador Lecture Series today. It is our fervent hope that your membership in the ASEAN will help bring about further economic advancement, and to borrow some words from former President Sanana Gusmao's reflections on democracy, become an invigorating reality and stimulate new energy for the patria. Obrigada, Barak. Marami pong salamat.
Thank you, Dr. Silero. On behalf of the UP Asian Center and the Foreign Service Institute, thank you for joining us this afternoon. We hope that today's lecture has enriched your understanding of Timor-Leste's path to ASEAN membership, the opportunities and challenges that lie ahead, and its growing significance in both Southeast Asian and Pacific studies. Before we officially close, we would like to invite everyone for a group photo opportunity here at the front. The, the, the photographers will assist us. And as mentioned earlier, we also have snacks and coffee, Philippine coffee, and refreshments at the back, prepared for all our attendees. So we encourage you to please stay, continue the conversation, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon with us. Thank you once again, and we look forward to seeing you at our future events. Thank you.
Yung mga nasa likod po, pwedeng patayo po para makita po kayo. Tago na lang. Ayan, okay yan. Something to play. Sir, pusog natin si sir. Don't worry about me. Kunti pa po, kunti pa po. Pwede, kailangan. Ayos. Sundin nyo lang si Master na yun.